different jobs happen when innovation takes place, but there is a temporary displacement. And so staying just on the forward edge of that wave, it isn't something to be afraid of. And honestly, if you're afraid of it, go ahead and be afraid. The wave is still coming. With all of your fear, you can try to resist it, and you can either relax into the wave and ride it to the shore, or you can get pummeled and drilled down into the sand or the coral reef below.
Yeah.
You choose. I'm here with a life raft to say, I would like to see you make it safely to shore, or at least float up to the surface. There's a lot of things as far as ethics go, as far as sustainability goes. There's all kinds of concerns in the ethics of AI. And I think it's important to consider all of those things while also understanding that it's here and it's part of what's creating so much change right now in the world, let alone in our industry for those who are working on the forefront like yourself. I am so pleased today to be joined on Brazen and Bold with an incredible, multiply decorated, award-winning, brilliant scientist and Lifetime Achievement NAHA winner, Sam Brocato. It is such an honor that he's kind enough to jump on this podcast, whether or not he was coerced or recorded at the recent Interview event. I am so grateful for joining me. Welcome to the show, Sam.
It's great to be here, Heather. Long time no see.
Yeah, listen, Montreal was light. It was so fun to be a part of Intercoiffure at the first event. Absolutely, really an incredible room to be in, and so many excellent takeaways and learnings. When I first started a conversation with the board at ICA, I heard you talk about your passion for innovation and for AI and what's forward and coming. And I just was really impressed with the amount of thought you had put into it, and also how much you have absolutely embraced on the forefront of technology, innovation, progress, growth, a lot of things that I think people with your level of achievement at your status and your place in your career don't always think about learning more about those things or jumping into it. And I was very impressed by that, and also fascinated by the way that you were implementing it in your own space. So anyway, I think there's so many things that you have in your laboratory that's your background and in your mind that you share with our listeners. I'm really, really excited. And I want to know, like, really above all of it, you got all these titles and letters and importance, and you've been knighted and all these very cool things. And it is quite terrific. I mean, sure, it's just a piece of paper and all the other things, but it's a pretty cool bunch of things. Who do you think you are? Like, who would you say you are? Titles, etc., notwithstanding. Will you tell us who you are?
I'm a very curious person. And I'm pretty easygoing. I don't like a lot of confrontation. So I have to have a lot of people around me to help with that, because I enjoy being with guests in the salon still a little. I do that, and I love that space. That's my happiest space that I get into. Although I will admit I've been doing a lot of coding lately, and that's become a little obsessive. But I think mostly I'm really curious. I really want to participate in life's transitions and things that are happening. I want to be around long enough to see certain things. Like for me right now, I want to see a really functional, quiet, silent blow dryer that doesn't have an electrical cord. So that's, believe it or not, that's one of the things I have on my box, my list. I want to see that. So there are things like that. So for me, it's curiosity. What will technology bring to changes, and how much will we really actually remain the same? But basically, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I'm from was a large family. There was 7 kids. I think there are 4 of us left. But yeah, that's kind of easy description. Curious.
I like that. I think that curiosity has led you to a really robust career and tons of experiences. And I think that curiosity, as shown in what you've been able to accomplish, the things you continue to create and do, curiosity is such an invitation, and it really can be fun. Maybe people who are curious, they ask different questions, they look at things differently, and what you get out of the arrangement is really something phenomenal. You've been at the forefront of quite a bit of innovation, product development. Like I mentioned earlier, for anybody who's listening, you can't see that Sam is actually sitting in his lab at his salon right now, and there's beakers and scales and bottles of I don't know what behind him, but it really is fascinating. I mean, I would love to know what got you started in this industry so many years ago and what's kept you in the industry for so long.
Well, I started off because my mom was a bookkeeper for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week at a cosmetology school. So once all 7 kids were in school, she was able to do that. So she'd get everybody out of the house, drive over to the school, and spend 2 hours. And I was in like seventh grade or whatever, and I was pretty routinely getting suspended. So I would go home, and my mom would say, "Your dad." My dad was an architect, and she would say, "Your dad's coming home. He's going to be very pissed off that you're here. Why don't you come with me to the school?" And I'm like, "I don't want to go there." So finally, I went with her one day, and it was like amazing. It was like 68 students, all but 2 of them were females. And they start rubbing on my hands and giving me a massage. And I'm like, this is heaven. This is amazing. And that's really how I first got into business because of that. I got a small apartment behind the school, and I started school. And, you know, Heather, I never missed a day. So I knew something right was happening because I did not like going to regular school. And so I did that. I dropped out of school, out of high school, and I went to beauty school. And then eventually I did get a GED because the governor of Louisiana wouldn't let me transfer the ownership of my first beauty school into my name because I didn't have a high school diploma. So I said, "Can't you kind of bend the rules for me?" And he said, "I'm going to do you a favor, and I'm not going to bend the rules for you. You go get you." And I did. I went and I got a GED. And you know, it's always been that sort of, if I need that piece of a fuel in my life. The GED in my world was a fuel to add to my fire, what was burning and happening, then I would add that. Otherwise, I was just down a path of learn and grow. And I think probably the thing that kept me initially in the business was it all came easy to me, to being around the people. I just really like being around people. And I certainly enjoyed being around all the girls. You know, it was just like great fun, a lot of wonderful people, a lot of fabulous memories. But then I started making a little bit of money. And I never really made that much money. I had odd jobs here and there, car hop and things we did back in the day, mowing the lawns. But when I started making money, I started going, well, this is easy. You know, you work hard, you show up, you do the job. At the end of the day, you got a little pile of money and you pay some bills. And it just kind of clicked. And, you know, one day led to the next week, to the month, to the years. And the years kept going by. And I just kept refining the things I did. I had an investment arm of things I was doing because I had money. And I had people saying to me, well, you have a little bit of money here. What are you going to do with it? And I said, buy real estate. Okay. So I did that. And I started that very early. And then I started growing my salons. And fortunately, in around 1979, I was introduced to Jameson Shaw in Atlanta, Georgia. And Jameson was my first real salon-based inventor. And whenever he showed me what he was doing in his operations, my mind blew up. I couldn't believe it. I was generating $350 a day. He was generating $3,600 a day by himself. I was in that, and I saw that, and I went, "Oh my God, there's always another level." And so that game of money, which I think is important because a lot of people shun it. Money is a game. You know, you can learn to play Monopoly, you can learn to play poker, you can learn to play all kinds of things. Play money, learn the game, and learn to play it. And then it becomes a box that you manage and you nurture throughout your career. So basically, the people, the money, the overall experience, and that's why I stayed. That's why I'm still here. And now I'm beginning to realize that the technology that we have today, if I would have had it when I was 23, oh God. I mean, I did build a 200 people organization on my first loop around, but it would have been way beyond that. And because technology is so empowering now that you can do things if you just have ideas. Well, if you have ideas, that's great. But if you have experience, like I do after 54 years, which I've pretty much kept the visors on. This is what I do. I play around with the, making products and all. I've been doing that a long, long time. My theory on that is I can make products until I'm 100. I probably can't stand at the chair doing hair until I'm 100. But so basically, that's kind of my umbrella look at it all. Manage the money, interact with the humans, and now find new ways to leverage the wisdom and experience of 54 years. And that's what I'm doing pretty aggressively right now, which has got me working harder than I've ever worked.
Well, it's such a gift too because you don't need to innovate any further. You really don't. And a lot of people can reach maybe one fifth of what you've accomplished in your career and say, "Wow, this is good," and sit there and hold. And I think what really is inspiring and what gets my brain, going and stimulated and hearing this is the kind of people who accomplish what you do would never be satisfied with just hitting that. You talk about the different boxes you keep, but it could be like, well, this is good and I'm done. You found out somebody was doing 10x what you were, and that was your first mentor, Jameson, and you're like, okay, tell me more. And then there's always another level to unlock, which I think is really powerful. I'm wondering, how do you balance that next level to unlock with rest? Like there's that productive side, the doer, the thinker, the
Yeah.
curious one. How do you flow between, how do you find a flow between balancing all that?
Well, I'm very interested in biohacking and all the things that have to do with the health span. I don't necessarily need or want to live to be 100 or 125, but I want to be healthy and I want to be functional. And so I'm really good about, I don't stay up late at night. And I wake up pretty early. It's funny, I set the alarm clock every night. I set it for 9 a.m. And a morning like this morning was pretty typical. I'm in the living room on the sofa at 6:20 a.m., having coffee, having set up my whole morning of, vitamins and my protein drinks or whatever. And then finally, I couldn't find my phone. And thank God, when it finally alarm went off at 9 a.m., I found it under a sofa. I don't use a 9 a.m. alarm. I set it just in case. But I get a lot of rest. I'm at a point where I ask forgiveness, not permission. If I show up late or if I don't do something, I apologize. I don't necessarily do it on purpose, but I'm definitely not looking back over the span of life and saying I'm going to ask permission to sleep or rest or take care of myself. I work out every day. I have some weights. I plank. I sit ups. I push ups. I do all that, and I walk at least 3 miles a day, at least every day. And I get on the treadmill. I do all those things to make sure that it's as balanced as it can be. New York City, which is where I spend 98% of my time, it's crazy. I mean, I wasn't raised here, but I've been here a long time. But it's just crazy. It's just so many people. It's just this constant incoming. I love it in a lot of ways. Some ways it just makes me crazy. But yeah, I get a lot of rest.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, think about the productivity and the creativity that you have living in a city like that where you're plugged in. You could be plugged in all the time. It's supercharged. So having the
Yeah,
downtime, the time to shift, regulate, calm, it makes space for the questions you ask and the
yeah,
curiosity you have. What got you from Louisiana to New York City? So that's a big jump. That's a little bit of a
yeah.
drive. How you take a left turn on X, keep going? How'd
Well,
you get there?
I will say that without any political thought at all, because I really don't think about it. But Louisiana used to be a very blue state. Now it's a very red state. And New York State is a very blue state. And so from that standpoint, I've always been able to not talk about sex, drugs, religion, or politics. Those are the things that I've kept away from the environment I have, and which is really good. But the Louisiana to New York move, if I understand that was the question, right? Kind of why or how. So we were
Yes.
in 1998, 99. My business in Louisiana was about almost a $7 million a year business. I owned it myself. I built it from scratch by myself. And a friend of mine, Smokey Neal, Edwin Neal, the Neal Corporation? They're based
Mhm.
out of Louisiana. So Edwin calls me one day because Estee Lauder was buying Aveda. And he was worried he might lose his distribution, which was a $40 million distribution. So he said to me, would you consider selling me your beauty schools? And I said, no, I don't want to sell anything. And then he called back and he said, would you sell everything? Or either I called him back and I said, maybe. And then because I didn't say yes to a purchase by Arnie Miller and Sidell Miller, who were the founders of Matrix, which would have made me $150 million to have owned 2% of Matrix, I have a file to prove it, because I said no to it, my wife, in her deep intelligence, and which she is, she's amazing. She said, I think we should do it. Let's take an adventure. I said, okay. So if we sell the business, I think we're going to have to leave town because there'll be a non-compete attached to it. Let's go to Italy and live in Italy for a year or so with the kids. And she and the two kids who were like 9 and 11 or 12 said, no, let's move to New York City. So we packed up in 2000, got here right in time for 9/11, and the planes hit. We went back to Louisiana for a minute and then realized we really wanted to come back to New York. And we woke up and it was 25 years later and we're still here. We still have a home in Louisiana, and then we go there all the time. And I always pick on people that come here that this is business here is actually a Louisiana-based business. So when you check out our thing here, you're checking out through a Louisiana. But I never changed the corporate seal or any of that. So, and we really are so Louisianans in New York in a very extended stay.
You guys had a really long visit. It sounds like you found a good place to visit. That's incredible. What a fun twist. And then you rebuilt in New York City. You have salon spaces there. And what kind of projects kept you engaged over the last 25 years in New York City?
Well, after we sold salons and schools in Louisiana, we kept our real estate investments there, and we still have them to this day. And at some point, I was doing the Brocato product line, and which is still in existence, and I still do some things with it. I don't own it. But I got here, and I don't know, maybe for about a year or two, it was kind of fun to be sort of play like retired a little bit and, have some money in the bank and being able to see the big city and get around. But eventually even New York shrinks, and you go everywhere and you've done a lot of things. So that's when we decided to get back into doing something other than just products. And that's how the salon here, which is about a 4,000 square foot salon with just under 50 employees, 44, 46, 48, depends on the day. And we decided to do that. And we took over in 2008, July of 2008, which most people may remember as just about the worst financial times in a long, long span for our country. It was a financial crisis, and we're seeing 21 people a day, and we needed 44 people a day to break even. And we just decided that even though we didn't have to work, we were going to work and work hard. And we built a really phenomenal little business here. We have one location. We've played around with a couple of other locations, but it's like, what, we don't need that. So that's the Louisiana New York connection. We keep going. We go to Louisiana a lot, and but we're here really mostly.
I think listen, it's not everybody's opportunity to be raised, build a business, turn down Matrix. Oops. But we're glad you did it the way you did it because you had another opportunity. And it's always nice to listen to your partners, especially if they're a smart one. So it sounds like you guys have an incredible adventure for your family.
I think that
I love
one
it.
important point for your listeners, I didn't ever work in a salon in New York City. I did not have a clientele. All we had was the experience and knowledge of literally 25 years. That's how I owned the other business. And we applied those good business principles and stuck to our guns here in Soho. And we've been able to build a business, build a respect with the people. Because like I always tell people, you come into New York? Great. Let me just tell you one thing. New York is not waiting for you. It's not waiting for me. It used to be waiting for someone like Michael Jackson or Madonna maybe, but it's not waiting for anybody anymore. It's a tough city. If you come here, you better have your ducks in a row and be willing and ready to work very hard, because it basically mostly chews people up and spits them out.
That could honestly be life at this point anywhere, unfortunately. By the same token, I
That's
would
a
love
good
to
point.
know, what were those business practices, if you can think of or encapsulate a handful of those best practices that you took from your experience in Louisiana for running successful businesses into the city. If you've got a salon owner listening in, like what are a couple of those things that you would say were like the pinnacle of what helped you transfer and succeed
A
in
long
the
time ago,
city?
someone told me about flash reports. In other words, all this information we have, condense it to 3 questions or 5 or 10 questions. That's it. So I would say the absolute North Star is your break even. And if you don't know what your break even is, then you really don't know what you're shooting for. And your break even obviously needs to be adjusted every day. I have an intelligent layer of information I've built around my point of sale systems and all. And I know every day what the break even is. Different on we're 7 days a week. So I know on Sunday and Monday are quieter days, we have less workload, so the break even is lower. But I know that break even. That's the number one thing. And the second thing is an unusually high devotion to calling through and paying attention to the customers that currently frequent your salon, understanding their average ticket and the things that they offer to you, and making sure you put out an energy that they understand that it's kind of like a restaurant. We're the maitre d's, and we want you to come in and enjoy your experience here with the service providers, and not getting so deep down a rat hole of like, oh, I'm so concerned that such and such stylist is this way or that way. Focus on the customer and someone that makes sure they're well provided for, then that's what's going to happen. So break even, customer interface, and build a small but elite team around you. If you're going to try to do what I do, we're a commissioned salon. We're 48 people. We run with a small office here, and so that would be some of the things that you know I would say. I think the other one would always have one foot in the plan of the future. Let's say that it's maybe you know that you have a 10-year lease or 7-year on your lease or whatever it may be. Is it out there you're reverse engineering what you're doing as it relates to your business to make sure that you're ready for those moments? Another one is always get a line of credit if they'll give you one. I mean, you know what? I had an extremely sophisticated salon owner who's on our board at Coiffure the other day. She said to me, you know, I implemented something you said that never even occurred to me that's taken such a headache off of my plate. And I said, what was that, Coral? And she said, I set up a line of credit and connected it to my payroll. And I went, yeah, I've been doing it 30 years. And in other words, I don't have to worry about payroll per se being funded. It's funded through the line of credit. And then I wake up Monday morning, which I call Money Mondays. I get up Monday morning. I do, because I'm the Intercorporate treasurer, I go through all the Intercorporate stuff, all the salon stuff, real estate, whatever. And I look at, okay, now the line of credit needs to be paid down. You know, pay it down. And that way I'm not worried, do we have enough money in the bank? Everybody's paychecks are met. That we're always there. So I think there are little things you learn as you go along. I think that most people don't stay in the game, stay focused on the game, and they don't keep drilling down for the next level of understanding of what the game can be to them. It's like a master chess player. You get better as you continue to up your game against rivals that are people you're playing against. Not that you want to hurt them or beat them, you just want to be really good at your game. So you need to really study your game and understand it. Most people never do that. They think it's just a lot of fun and hair and music. And not everybody's like that. I mean, I think a lot of very, very professional, responsible people. But the people I still, you know, I was keeping track in the neighborhood here of all the salons that were closing. We had about 16 salons of this size closed since COVID in Soho. So when you analyze why, and some of them were a couple of very big names, a couple of them are very well financed even. But things have become harder and harder, which I think you said a few minutes ago. It's become harder. It's not an imagination. It's real.
And it's like once you've mastered the game changes and it goes from game to three-dimensional to the Hunger Games to now it's a game of Pictionary, and then we've got to make sure we're really, really good at Trivial Pursuit. And what's next? And staying ahead of it and drilling down. I think complacency would really be the enemy of getting where you want to go if you're wanting to follow in the path of someone with your type of success, Sam. Um, Success is such an arguable thing. My favorite thing to hear people say is, "Oh, they're very successful. She's incredibly successful." And maybe it's my neurodivergence, or maybe it's because I really, really value clarity and understanding. But I usually don't let the conversation go any further before saying, "Will you please explain to me what you mean by successful?" Because That is such a moving target, and it's so nuanced for every individual. Success is such an individual thing. I would love to know if you can share with our listeners what you value as successful or what your definition currently of
Well,
success is.
I used to really spend a lot of time picturing the wheel of life, education, money, knowledge, family, spirituality. And I would really look at that as a way to balance things. I think now success is to be content. I'm really content right now. Do I want to do things like crazy? Yes, and all that. But I wake up most of the time really pretty happy. And I'll say, I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to have these days. I had a younger brother that passed away almost 14 years ago, and what he would get, and I have an older brother that passed away just barely a year ago, and what they would give to have a few more moments. So I think success is that happiness, as physically as healthy as you can be. Some people can't help it if they've had lost an arm or whatever, and that doesn't make a total person. Financial stability based on the ability to accumulate and build some wealth. It doesn't have to be tons and tons of money, but like I've told people, that you're financially independent when you don't have to work to live the lifestyle you're living. That means you have income that's coming in, and maybe you only spend $55,000 a year to live. Well, guess what? You're wealthy if you've got $55,000 and you're not paying, you're not working for it. You are wealthy. So that's kind of just a
Yeah.
general, I think things as time goes by, the funnels narrows, and the things I really want to do and really need to do, I kind of narrow it down more and more. But I am looking for another maybe 30 years of curious wandering.
Hey, business owners. Yes, you. I know you're juggling it all: marketing, admin tasks, websites, podcasts, social media. The list never ends. That's where Spark comes in. We're a virtual assistant company built just for small business owners, because once you're able to delegate, we know you'll be able to dominate. Our clients are seeing up to 30% increase in social media engagement and sales, all by letting us handle the behind the scenes work. Not to mention an incredible boost in flexibility, profit, and time. So scan the QR code right now to schedule a free chat with my team. Let's make you efficient AF and help you focus on what you do best: growing and leading your business. I love that. I hope you don't stop, because I do think it's fascinating. And your most, well, not maybe most recent, but a recent wandering of yours in the field of technology. You mentioned you do a lot of coding recently, and I know when we first met online, you spoke a bit about AI and your focus on AI in the beauty space, particularly. And listen, there's a lot of people who are real cute and they're still using AI like it's Google. And you've been doing something far more advanced than that for a lot longer. I would love to know what got you into the space of adapting AI, and really where it's taking you, what that journey is like, and what you're using AI for currently, especially in your businesses.
Well, what got me into it was in December of 22, whatever, right after, like week after chat dropped for the first time to the public. I was hearing a little buzz. I forget where, but I immediately downloaded it on my laptop, and I started asking a couple questions, and I was stunned by the response. It was the type of response that if you didn't hire the expensive consultant or you didn't know a professor that was a genius, you wouldn't get it done. So my very first thought, and my thought today is this: if you have a question and you want to learn something, there's the ability to learn it at a level that's just absolutely unbelievable, and AI provides that. And for the salon industry, I think you heard someone say the other day, matter of fact, I saw you sitting privately having a conversation with this person, and he said, there are three key touch points. There's when the customer walks in the salon and you greet them. There's the service itself and all the things around it. And then there's when the person leaves that they check out. Those are the key human touch points. And if you look around, everything around it,
Yes.
that all it's somewhat automated. Even a shampoo bowl can be automated. But for me, I'm moving
Right,
from
right.
making widgets and making apps I'm moving to hard coding. I'm doing mostly vibe coding. I use mostly Claude code, and I'm building an intelligence level around everything that we do in our business so that I'm able to have the kind of daily reports that are they're really game changers. I can tell you things right now about my business. I could have found it the other day, but I can tell you right now, just by switching screens and going through a line of things that are just really, really, and you know what's wonderful about it, Heather? It's personal to me and our culture. And I think that that's what every one of the listeners should think about. How do I use the tool? I use the point of sale from XYZ Group. I work with Sparks, and I love that. But at the end of the day, I want to personalize a layer of intelligence that interfaces with these people that really feeds me, feeds my culture, feeds my existence as a person and as a business owner. So to me, I know some people are afraid of AI, but I'll give you one quick example and I'll show that. So how many people do you think do not go to doctors or have medical services or things done because they just can't afford to? Quite a lot, right?
Number. Are we talking United States only? Right? A lot
A
of people, too
stunning
many
amount.
people.
And whether it's a mammogram or whatever it may be, people say, I can't afford it. Don't do it. Well, what's happening right now is a democratization of knowledge at a level. I have right on my wall, I have a little thing that says step 1, solve intelligence. Step 2, use intelligence to solve everything else. And the bottom line is that as we collapse the demands of medicine and the needs and all of the prices collapse, because they will collapse, because you'll be able to get a mammogram at such a low price done by an AI, but still with a human in the loop to do it. All of a sudden, you're going to see a need for what? If you have more medical services, if you have more things going on in the hospital, you're going to need more nurses and doctors and humans in the loop. And robots aren't going to do all that. So I'm personally job optimistic. I think, and I think the best place in the world to be is in a hair salon, personally. But I'm very job optimistic. I'm not think there's a job apocalypse happening. I know there's a lot of adjustments, but I think AI is going to be very useful. And if for anybody thinking about it and afraid of it, you're not too late. This is a very, very early in it. Just whenever you have a question, don't be afraid to ask it, and stick around.
Yeah, I've actually been working with an AI architect developing a resource essentially that cooperates with information that's required to run a salon, type of metrics and reports being pulled, and really solving for the people like myself who are overwhelmed running a few businesses, have a
Yeah.
couple kids, maybe a few rescue animals running around, and who knows what else iron I have in the fire. So people who are like, I am not afraid of it. I don't have time to slow down long enough to feed it what I need to get the answers I need. And so there is a lot of opportunity in that space, even if it's frankly adapting every second that we're talking. It's changing. The this the accessibility to knowledge, solve for intelligence, and then solve for everything else. And I think that that's incredible. I want to know what excites you the most about these advances in technology, particularly AI, within our industry, and what concerns you the most about AI industry? I love that you're job optimistic, and I love the way you're saying, like, hey, I'm not afraid, I'm leaning into it. What excites you the most and what worries you the most when it comes to AI?
Well, from the salon standpoint, I think we can really refine the day-to-day operation. I mean, and collapse the reporting systems to where they're in real time, because so much information we get. I mean, when you get a financial statement handed to you on a piece of paper, I mean, that's just like so old news. It's like writing a check. I mean, come on, really? I mean, I know people write checks. I write one every 7 months or so, whatever. But so I think that the salon is probably the least affected, although I do think the front desk, now I think we have 4 people at the front desk, but we have an answer bot that's there to support them. So the goal is to keep the 4 people, have them see more and more and more and more guests, and use the bot and use our point of sale system and our terminal information that I'm creating to further build the business. So every single day, a hot list of customers that have not been in 120 days shows up, or whatever it may be, And we're able to immediately do an outreach and measure that outreach. All of that's done with automation. It's not done because somebody's sitting there typing it in. It's 100% automated. And all the point of sale systems, I think, pretty much all of them, can offer versions of that. All I'm doing is working on something that's personalized to my salon because I'm a huge believer in a cultural moat. And I think the more we focus on building a cultural moat, it's a defense system. And that's one of the reasons I make all these products. I love the idea of we make it ourselves. I know that it's not being down the street or somewhere else. But I think a cultural moat is really obtainable now because of AI. Because, like yourself, I mean, you're a very busy person, but 10 minutes a day or so with Notebook LM or with Chat or with Gemini or Claude, whatever it is, and with some very specific targets about your business, is going to yield massive jumps in, I mean, and not just incremental change. We're talking about step changes. And what's just happened in the last 2 months with technology, with AI, it is step changes. So step change that it's being covered up or held back because they're afraid of what it'll do. And that's why I use Claude, because I think a lot of what's under the hood at Claude is pieces of that super knowledge, what they call AGI, artificial general intelligence. So I'm super optimistic about that. I will say that I do worry in short term that it's not us, it's not our colors, it's not our cutters or people that are going to lose their jobs. It's more likely it's our customers. It's the person that 10 blocks
Yeah.
from here, which is Wall Street, is on Wall Street, or they're an investment banker, or they're a marketing person, or whatever it may be. I worry more about that temporary displacement as the rotations and things happen than I do about our salon. But one of the things I keep in mind is the form factor. And the form factor is everything around us is built for the human body. It's built for 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, this size and all that. All of that infrastructure is going to continue to carry on for a very long time. So the form factor is a big piece of the whole AI transition. A lot of people don't talk about, but you're not going to automatically change everything. It's not going to change overnight. People are like, that's not what's going to happen.
I've thought about that as far as evolution, and I've mentioned this before, maybe not on the show. When when the Industrial Revolution happened, it misplaced a lot of people who were doing the jobs in the factories, and all of a sudden that's being automated by machines. Well, the parts of the machines need to be produced, and they need to be cleaned and serviced and repaired, and then someone needs to work at the storefronts where these items who are being mass produced are being sold. Different jobs happen when innovation takes place, but there is a temporary displacement. And so staying just on the forward edge of that wave, it isn't something to be afraid of. And honestly, if you're afraid of it, go ahead and be afraid. The wave is still coming. With all of your fear and might, you can try to resist it, and you can either relax into the wave and ride it to the shore, or you can get pummeled and drilled down into the
Yeah.
sand or the coral reef below.
Yeah.
So you choose. I mean, I'm here with a life raft to say I would like to see you make it safely to shore, or at least float up to the
Yeah.
surface. But there's a lot of things as far as ethics go, as far as sustainability goes. There's all kinds of concerns in the ethics of AI, and I think it's important to consider all of those things while also understanding that it's here and it's part of what's creating so much change right now in the world, let alone in our industry for those who are working on the forefront like yourself. Um, where do you see? So you've mentioned that you've got like automatic reports generated. Are you doing this through your salon software? You have the coding that's created. Do you run a program to make sure that you're pulling things from every resource within your point of sale, your different softwares, and then producing kind of one solid at a glance document? Or how are you seeing it be the most productive in salons?
You mean the technology I'm building?
Yeah, and AI in general. Like, you know, how are you seeing it be that for your business, you're making it very productive?
Yeah.
How are you seeing that work day to day? Someone who doesn't understand what you're referencing, can you break that
I,
down a little
I
bit for
would,
them?
the first idea is the democratization of knowledge, embodying that. It's taken me every bit of 3 years to get to realize that I can ask absolutely any question of AI at any level, anywhere I want. Well, it could be anything, my AI doctor or whatever. I always cross check it with a human. I think the place to start is to sit down with a large language model of your choice. You can do it for free. You know, Notebook LM is really good. I'm still on a free plan and use it a lot. Uh, and begin a conversation. And maybe you might say to the notebook, say, look, I'm a hair salon owner, or I'm a hairstylist. I'm in a booth or a suite or something, whatever it may be. To explain to me, and then say to it, say to it, I want you to interview me to help me understand what I need to do. I want you to understand me by interviewing me. Ask me questions. And that way I can begin to build a rapport with this incredibly intelligent, free knowledge, and it'll guide you and say to you, well, what is it you really want? Like in ChatGPT, I made one of my first GPTs, custom ones called the 5 Whys. And it was like, if you ask it, you say, well, I want to make more money. It'll come back and say to you 5 times. It'll say, why? And you'll say, well, I have a lot of bills to pay. Why? And you have to list things. You keep drilling and drilling. Why? And you get to some semblance of an answer. So if you have AI interview you around your work and then around your family and then around your politics and around your health span or whatever it may be, then all of a sudden it gets to know you and you can begin to say, talking to it, you know, like my wife talks to Sage. She named hers. I don't name mine. I'm not quite there, but she can interact with Sage, and she does more and more and more. And it's very, very, very helpful. She accidentally cut some wires in the other office the other night, cut all the music off in this. She took her AI Sage and pointed it at the box and said, help. And within 25 And
We
within
should
25
cook it.
minutes, we had the little piece that we had to get from the fixing, plugged it in, it was working. That would have been a phone call to an IT guy, a video guy. And I'm not saying those people aren't necessary. They are. It's just it's a different leverage. If you understand the democratization of knowledge, and then you understand how much more you can know and do and be than ever before, it's just amazing. And I think the salon is such a perfect place to be. It's just so human.
And you bring up a great point because you're using technology in such a comprehensive way, using it to double down on the human piece, the human connection. That was so much of what the spring gathering was about with Inner Coiffure. It was all about human connection and the ways to, for lack of a better word,
Yes,
leverage or
yes.
enhance that vast business. And I think that really is the only, technology proofing your business looks like being more human than ever. It looks like being more excellent, more caring, more nurturing, and more connected than ever. I love how you spotlighted a few of the things that you look at, your money Mondays and so forth, but really paying attention to your top guests and focusing on them as the thing you're solving for versus I'm worried about this stylist and this thing. Your forefront of your mind is like that's a target. Your focus is those high producing, um, high impact guests. And so I think that that's super important, like doubling down on that, tripling
Yeah,
down, maybe
10x. Yeah.
10xing that while we're at it. What will what will distinguish and set us apart because I don't need someone to take my order as a human at any place of food. I don't really care as long as I can push the buttons and get what I want. I don't actually care that a human's there to do it. Not to be rude to the humans. Or I mean, I like the sapiens, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to a connection, when it comes to nurturing, and I do think for me, and this is because of my value system, art, I want a human to be involved in that. Other people might have different priorities, and that's fine. But I think finding the spaces where the human touch is really carried forward and such a pinnacle part of the experience is what will distinguish maybe people who are able to thrive in the innovation of AI. So I think that's incredible. How do you see AI enhancing creativity? So you've talked about ways it can solve problems and help you build your business and be more productive. How do you see it supporting creativity in the salon space?
It's interesting because I have a son that's a filmmaker, and he does all the Comic Cons and he travels all over. He's just such an incredibly creative person, and part of what I don't do much of, although I've built websites and I've played around with these before and afters, all these I've made Heijin versions of myself, avatars and lots of things like that. I I I don't really use AI for customer facing experiences that have to do with visuals. As I think about creativity, I still look for the people that have their hands in the hair, so to speak, the artist. There's so much art around here where we are. I still spend 10 to 30 minutes in the evening strumming my guitar and just trying to not play the same old songs and just to make sure that it's very organic. So for me personally, if I were going to try to use to be creative, I would do what I just explained. I would say, hey, Claude, I want to become more creative. I want to up my game. And it might be in hairstyle and whatever. It might be in life in general. I want you to interview me and help me uncover some kernels of knowledge about creativity that I can really apply in real time as a human in day-to-day life, that I'll see some result. That might be a way that I would do it, but I don't make music with it, and I don't make art with it or any of those things. I just, for me, those are a little, it's just not on my plate. I've seen some salons using it, and I just think that part of our humanity is a photograph of a real human being, that before and after. And I can create amazing, I could, before and after. You go, wow, that's amazing. And you go, yeah, but it's not real. So that's kind of
Real.
where I am on it. Maybe I'll be proven to be a little old fashioned sooner than later, but I'm going to hang on to my. I think the best thing we have is just that we're humans. We can be, and we can let AI do while we're being. So let's be.
I mean, that's everything right there. Being AI or automation support so much of
Yeah,
mundane work, which is part of what I'm about, my virtual assistant firm, and utilize AI as much as we can to simplify and
yeah,
streamline that as well and to demystify it for our clients. But if you can outsource the pieces that are not in your creative zone of genius or not something that really help continue to spark your imagination, if you can remove those things from your plate that are bogging down, it feels like it's just all the tabs open on my screen. My processor is too full. The hard drive does not have any more room in it. Well, if I can offload that to an external hard drive to do the same work, all of a sudden the processing unit can
yeah.
start to do more. And so I think that that is the way, the being piece, um, put some of the doing onto automation and allow a resource outside of yourself to help you with the doing. So the being as a human can be enhanced. I
There
think that
is,
that's brilliant.
yeah.
I would love
No, I was just to say, one of the hardest things to do for humans in general is just to be still and just be still and say, this is life. I'm alive and feels good, smells good, thinks nice, maybe not, maybe yes. But then from there are things that need to be done. Do I need to do all that? Do I really need to be the person that's having to shovel in the heat and dig something? No, there's a way to automate that. Do I really need to spend hours and hours and hours on spreadsheets? No, you really don't. And there are people that can do that. But then you want an expert's eye on it to make sure that because look, humans make mistakes. Machines and AI are definitely going to make future mistakes too. That just happens, and it's going to continue to happen.
the quality assurance, the checkpoints happening, but maybe the heavy lifting can be done in a technology or automation way. So I think that's incredible. I would love to know, in wrapping up, if you could share with our listeners what excites you the most about the future of our
The
industry.
future of our industry. God, I
Yeah.
just think this is the coolest time. What I do, and it's an exercise I started doing a long time ago before AI. I stand in the salon and I try to imagine it 7 years and 10 years from now. What will it look like? What will the look and feel be? And part of it, I think the mirrors, and I hope someone listening to this will create it because I'm not trying to do it. I've played around with some of the apps. A mirror that a mirror that records everything you're doing but blurs out the face of the person. So the person doesn't have to be on camera, but you have a rerun of what they did. So I think that and I think the car wash for the hair, that really is an amazing experience. I think that that's something that's going to happen sooner than later. I think we'll be pretty much physically deskless, no reception desk in big operations like ours pretty soon. Most of them are getting there already. And I think that the hairdresser and the skincare person, the massage therapist, all these, those of us that we touch people, physically touch people, is going to continue to be elevated as a luxury. And And I think more than
Yeah.
ever, the human touch and the human opinion is going to be elevated. And people, if you think that people want to have a robot cut their hair or color it, I don't think so. I think people, I want someone I can turn around and say, you know what, I hate this, or I love it so much, or whatever it may be. But I want someone accountable that's in the loop with me. So I think we're in a really, really good place in the salon industry. And yeah, that's kind of mine. I don't think it'll be dramatically different walking, coming and going, but I think it'll continue to evolve in ways that have to do with sound and colors. And I don't mean hair color. I mean colorful color lights and ambiances in the rooms where just experience is something that's just beautiful. I have a friend that has a new movie coming out on May 28th called Stay Young. It's going to be on Apple TV. I don't have anything to do with it other than I've watched it a couple times, and it is truly an intriguing story about lifespan and how we'll live into the future. And one of my secret weapons, so to speak, is I can watch something, but I cannot take off my hairstylist hair salon goggles. My filters always filter things through in my world, which is the world of hair and beauty. So when I watch that and I look at the environments in that movie, Stay Young, I look at it and I go, oh, okay, that's an amazing environment. If you ever worn those goggles and all the things like made by Meta and Apple, those environments can be replicated in our salons in a way that aren't so detached feeling. They're very present and comfortable. So I think things like that are going to be part of the future. I'd like to see it personally. So
I think that's awesome. And then, totally different than technology based. I'd love to know if there is a favorite book you've read recently, something that you've read or that you're reading that you love that you'd suggest for listeners
I
in
think my
closing.
favorite, I read a lot. I read 1929, which is a business book by the guy, Sorkin, is a guy that's on CNBC. But I think one of my favorite books was one called Scary Smart. Scary Smart, and it's by M.O. Gadat, Gadat. And he wrote it before AI launched, but it's the story of AI and the building of it and all. So what's unique about it is it tells that story in a way that's before we had ChatGPT and all that. And it talks about where it's going and what it is. So I really like that book. I try to read books, autobiographies, and I don't read hardly anything that's not real world, like about business or, things like that. But I would say Scary Smart. That's one of my favorite ones. I've read probably, I think I have around 22. If I were in my apartment, it would be right behind me. You'd see them. But I have about 22 books on the shelf that are strictly about technology and AI. Yeah, so that'll be it.
For some reason, all of that tracks. Sam, you are a fascinating human and an example of a compassionate one and one that leads your teams well, connects beautifully with other people while also embracing so much innovation and doing it in a way that just really I think is fascinating. And I don't say this to flatter you. I only tell the truth compulsively. But I've been wanting to interview you ever since
Oh,
I
that's
heard
so
you speak.
Thomas.
In our first thought, yes, you're a very, very interesting person, and I imagine anybody listening will agree with me and be so appreciative that though you don't love doing podcasts, you were courted by one perspective, Bobby Burnett in Montreal, and that you agreed to meet and record today. I'm really grateful that you shared some of your insights
Uh,
and thoughts with us.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you so
coming
much
to
for being on the
Intercoiffure
show.
and supporting us there. Intercoiffure, people ask me, I'll say to people, look, I didn't go to Harvard and I didn't go to NYU. I went to Intercoiffure. And that changed the
There you
trajectory
go.
of my 54-year career. It really and truly made a difference. But you have to get in the game, whatever it is, and stay in it. Don't try to play too many things. And I don't know if you asked me about hustle.
I did a little bit at the beginning talking about like how much you've accomplished and how do you balance
I do
hustle. So
think
yes, we did talk about it
I do
briefly, but
think
share more.
hustle is a starter fluid. It's a starter fire. It's to get the fire going, but it's definitely not a way of life for me. The amount
Mm.
of rest and calm you need around you. If you get too many things going on, but again, I'm not 25, so I need my I need my
Oh,
rest.
I love that.
All right.
I like that. I think that's so incredible. Thank you again, and tell listeners if they want to learn more about you or follow your work or learn more about Interquiffure, where they can do that.
I am on Instagram a little bit. I have, I have a couple product lines, so every now and then they'll pull me in front of the TikTok camera to do something about a product. So we're there. Uh, you know, Probably the Sam Brocato Salon website. And then the Together Beauty is the brand I own of hair care. It's beautiful. If you go look at it, I'm not trying to pitch it on anybody, but it is so beautiful. So togetherbeauty.com and sambrocatosalon.com and on Instagram. Those are the main places I go. I've kind of narrowed down my exposure. Uh, it's just life changes,
Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll link everything in the show notes. And I want to say, on behalf of anybody listening in who's had a chance to work with you or learn from you, not bad for a high school dropout. Aren't we glad you got kicked out of
Uh,
school somewhat? Because apparently your teachers, without knowing it, were like, he clearly doesn't belong here. He has something bigger to
yeah,
do. So thank you
you're
for
welcome.
sharing some of that with us. And can't wait to hear more from you and also see you more at our next Interquiffure
Absolutely.
fall atelier. That'll
Okay.
be so this will be launching probably May or June of 2026. So anybody who's interested in Interquiffure learning more, please, we'll
Yeah.
also link that. It is an incredible organization that Sam is the treasurer of, and they have a
Yeah.
great event coming up
We have
in
a
the
huge
fall.
fall
You're
event.
in your own backyard.
Yeah.
Wait to see you there. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a
You
beautiful
too.
day.
Bye, Heather.